Alright, boom. Apparently, this guy, Marquees Brownlee, I do not watch him. I could not give a shit about technology, to be honest. Like, I barely even know how to use my laptop. Like, people in university, they like code some bullshit, and the lights in the fucking room start turning off. It's like, how the fuck do you do that? Do you know what I mean? I don't know how to do a single thing on any piece of technology, to be honest. So I don't watch this guy. But anyway, I'm interested in the FBI, so I would like to see what this is about. I wonder why they came to his house, Brev.
So here we are. So for those of you who don't know, we have a studio here, and it's in a larger building with more tenants in it. Obviously, it's like an office building. It's not exactly like an office building, but there's a front desk and security and all that.
Nice B-roll for no reason at all.
And I've been in this building long enough that we have a pretty good relationship with them. So we have this one rule, basically. So there's the guy at security at the front desk. We'll call him Bob, just for this. But Bob and I have this one rule, which is that if anyone ever shows up at the front desk and asks for me, that he doesn't let them in, I have to come out and meet them to confirm that I was expecting them, and then I bring them back to our studio. So if someone just randomly shows up, which you shouldn't, but if they do, and I don't show up at the front to meet them, then I wasn't supposed to meet them. But if I have someone coming and I expect them, I meet them outside. That's our one rule, and we stick to it. So in June 2020, it was pretty early in this new space that we have, and it's also right around like peak COVID. So I'd sent everybody home, and it was just me and Andrew coming into the studio to work on basically building furniture and making videos and recording the podcast every week. So I got here pretty early on one of those summer mornings, and I'm starting to get all my stuff settled, and then there's a knock on the door. So I open the door, and it's our front desk guy, Bob. And Bob basically says, "Hey, Marquez, there's some people with badges at the front desk to see you. I, of course, didn't let them in, but if you would like to, they're up there." And then he just walked away. And my first thought is confusion. Like, what? What did I do on the way here that someone with badges would show up asking for me? I'm a little concerned. I'm not sure what to think. So there was a solid minute where I just like stood there in the doorway like, okay, do I go up there or do I just stay here in the studio without asking who the people with badges are? And then I just went up to the front. I went up to the front desk, and sure enough, there's 3 people with badges there, and they walk right up to me, and they all like flash their badges, FBI, just like the movies, like FBI agent this, IRS agent this, and they're like, "Marquez, good to see you. We've got some questions for you about the Escobar phone." So immediately I'm relieved, but I'm like, oh, the Escobar phone. Oh. Because, see, a few months earlier, I had published a video about the Escobar fold. If you guys haven't seen that video, basically the story goes there's this company parading around and selling this $400 gold folding phone, which they're going to use to destroy Apple and Samsung. And they had these insane marketing campaigns and all this. But really what they were doing, as I uncovered in my video, was covering Samsung Galaxy Folds cheaply with like gold stickers, and then shipping them to YouTubers and people who they believed would talk about it positively, and then not shipping any of the other orders from regular people or the audiences that watch those videos. Those people were getting scammed out of their money. And honestly, in hindsight, I don't know how they thought they were going to get away with this. Like, it felt pretty obvious to me, but eventually their whole plan backfired when I made a video about the entire thing. So now fast forward a couple months, and it actually makes sense that the FBI and the IRS are interested. I didn't realize they were just gonna show up one day, but here we are. But shout out to Bob at the front desk for sticking to our rule. Even though he probably had a bunch of people like flash FBI badges at him, he stuck to our rule, and that was great. So I appreciate that. But yeah, so I came out, I brought them back to our spot, and they basically then had a bunch of questions about that video and the process of dealing with that company in any way, like any and all communications that I had with them, any email I'd ever sent or received from them ever. They wanted everything. And actually, it was funny, another tidbit is Andrew at the time had just started running the business email account here, and when they were asking, like, has anybody else on your team possibly ever been in email communication with this company? And I was like, I think Andrew might have. And Andrew just had arrived at the studio and walked up to the front door of our spot. And so I go, hey, come in. And, first thing he sees is like me in an empty studio with a bunch of people in suits, like waving him over. So he has a pretty funny alternate perspective on this story. So the FBI actually took the half-peeled Escobar Fold and the scratched gold iPhone from my videos as evidence in the case. They literally asked for them and took them away. They put them in sealed plastic bags that said evidence on them, which is why I said at the end of the Smartphone Awards that year. Also, honorable mention to the Escobar Fold 2, which I also don't have on this desk because it is in the possession of the FBI. Someday I'll be able to tell that story. So as they're leaving, they've asked me all the questions. As the FBI and IRS people are leaving, they're like, hey, don't talk about this at all publicly, please. And I'm like, yo, of course, yeah. No, obviously, you're the FBI. Of course, I'm not going to talk about it. I don't want to interfere with the investigation in any way. But also, like, when could I talk about it? Like, how long do you think before I am allowed to? And they said, we'll let you know. So I've been biting my tongue for years, not talking about it, hinting at it a little bit, but not anything too serious. But since then, a lot of the dominoes have started to fall. At first, when the scam was happening, PayPal stopped working with them, so they'd switched to this only non-refundable direct transfer thing with Klarna, and then they stopped working with them too, and then eventually the whole operation starts falling down. And the guy at the head of it, named Olaf Gustafsson, this guy finally ends up getting arrested and going to prison in Spain for fraud and money laundering and a bunch of other things, basically for everything that I talked about in those videos. So I've been holding on to this, not really knowing, like, okay, is it cool now that he's behind bars to talk about it? So we actually reached back out to those same FBI agents because they left their cards, and they're like, oh yeah, no, it's cool now to talk about it. You're totally fine. So there unfortunately is no footage of any of this incident. But there is these papers, which they provided as proof that they received property to be used as evidence in the case. So one Pablo Escobar Fold 2 mobile flip phone, aka Samsung, and one Pablo Escobar Gold 11 Pro mobile phone, aka iPhone 11 Pro. But hey, now you basically know the story. Yeah, pretty serious business out here
Bro,
making.
that's dead. I thought this guy was working with Escobar on the low or something. That's dead. What the fuck? This guy just gave evidence to them. This guy.
Videos about phones sometimes. Apparently, also, if this guy, Olaf, ever does get charged in the United States, then it's very likely my videos would show up somewhere in those court documents, which is crazy. And also, the phones that they took may show up as evidence. But yeah, I do want to get back into a little more of the more investigative, deep dive type of videos. Obviously, the giant scams don't happen very often, thankfully, in the tech world, but still, they are fascinating stories when they do. By the way, that's not the only encounter that we've had with the FBI in running this YouTube channel, but that's another story for another day. But hey, if you want more fun stories like this one, let me know in the comments. But also, the latest episode, the bonus episode of the Waveform podcast is just stories. It's fun. Yeah,
Okay.
oh really? A couple weeks. Well,
Well, that was dead, to be honest. Like, what the fuck? I thought, we were about to get some ridiculous. Yo, fam. I was selling drugs in the low with Escobar, and then the FBI came, and I had to hide it in my phone, or some kind of shit like that. But this guy just gave evidence. I mean, fairs. If the FBI are at your house, you're not gonna say, "No, I don't have evidence." You're kind of fucked. So you would give the evidence. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, fairs.